Facebook's global reach remains massive, but its grip on younger users is slipping. Only 32% of U.S. teens use the platform today, down from 71% in 2014. But one feature is still keeping users engaged: Marketplace.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually don't have a Facebook account anymore. Myself, I feel like it's just not the place to be. I actually minimize most social media usage just because I don't find it particularly beneficial to my life. And it can be a distraction. It can actually be negative, whole other assortment of things. But the Marketplace, I actually usually bug other people who still have a Facebook account to use their Marketplace area. So that way I can like get things on the cheap once in a while. So definitely Marketplace has value to it. I think one of the key things here is, I believe we saw something similar in certain markets, like Craigslist is a big place for people to find apartments. I think it's been actually pretty sticky even till now, where a pretty noticeable percentage of certain cities in the US, actually the predominant place people find their apartments are through Craigslist, I believe, still at this point. And so Marketplace is basically like that, where somebody can post anything they want at all. You can go meet them, go get that item, whatever it is. But I do like that extra layer of, you at least know these are real people and like there's something tying it back, versus like a Craigslist where like you don't really have real accounts or anything like that. At least you know, like, or at least hopefully reduce the chance of like serial killer showing up at a meet and greet for like one of these t-shirts, I guess. So I think that's a nice bonus feature for Marketplace.
I only use it for the Marketplace.
It is the only reason that I log on to Facebook.
100%.
But
I only use Facebook for Facebook Marketplace, looking for specific large items of furniture or things for my house. And I go in with knowing what I want, not just casually browsing.
Since its launch in 20...
Totally agreed. This is exactly what I do. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this item, but I don't want to put all this money in up front. It's not something that I like really need to be particularly high quality. I don't mind it being secondhand. I'm going to come here and try to get a huge discount on something that could be a few $100, or maybe even something that could be a few thousand or $1,000 and get it for a few $100. So totally agreed with that. And I don't think I've ever just like browsed Marketplace before. I think exactly as they said, usually have a big item that I'm trying to get at a discount rate, go for the secondhand through Marketplace. 100%.
2016, Facebook Marketplace, which is owned by Meta, has quietly become one of its biggest success stories. With 1.1 billion users in 70 countries, it's now one of the world's largest platforms for secondhand sales, rivaling eBay and Craigslist.
Marketplace has actually been referred to as the garage sale or the flea market of the internet. And so there's a tremendous amount of consumer-to-consumer business.
What makes Marketplace so sticky is the cost. Unlike eBay and Etsy, Facebook doesn't charge listing fees, and sellers can arrange local pickups, avoiding shipping and transaction costs.
No selling fees is a major selling point for Marketplace, and introducing any kind of fee or having Meta insert itself further into the sales or the transaction process could push Marketplace sellers and buyers.
Totally agreed. I've worked at marketplaces before, and they tried something similar where they were trying to take over like a portion of like a Craigslist or something like that. And this was the exact problem, which is they charged for transactions to occur. And the difficult part is that if you are somebody who's trying to sell an item, especially if you think of the classic use case of Facebook Marketplace in my mind, which is usually items that you are trying to get rid of for cash, maybe because you just want cash at that point for some reason. And so the only reliable way to really charge money for it is to charge the seller before they've sold the item, which is kind of the opposite of what that user is looking for. Because like if you're going to go sell, you know, a couch that you had, maybe you need that money to buy a new couch or maybe even to buy something else. And so for you to use extra money to be able to sell this item basically makes that useless. And then if you try charging after the fact, especially in one of these situations where you're allowing communication between the potential buyer and the seller, then they can do whatever they want in the back end. And so I think this is a problem that I saw while we were trying to implement something like this in a marketplace in my past, where you basically charge the seller. That's not what they're looking for. They're trying to make money, not potentially lose money by entering into your marketplace. And then you can't really reliably charge after the fact for the transaction because those two individuals might have just said, nope, we didn't do it, and then just like Venmo'd each other outside of the app. And so it really just deters people from using it overall. And so I think this is definitely a huge benefit to it, again, because I think it, in my mind, is competing with like a Craigslist where you don't pay either for transactions or for posting.
To other platforms.
So how important is Facebook Marketplace to Meta? And with Facebook's growth among younger users slowing, how crucial is Marketplace to its future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if anybody really uses, I feel like Instagram, which is a Meta product, and Facebook Marketplace. I feel like that's the only thing they have right now. And I'd at least say Marketplace stands out to me as like an potentially industry leader in this space. I would definitely prefer if this took over like a Craigslist or something else that is a little bit sketchier, even though it gives you basically all the same features, just with a little bit more security on top of it. Whereas like Instagram, I feel like it's been slowly losing traction as well to things like TikTok, etc. And so as far as I can tell, Instagram's probably past its prime at this point. And so it's likely going to be on a downturn. So it's going to likely lose users is my guess. And so Marketplace would be a more reasonable bet in my mind, or another new product.
One study found that only 32% of U.S. teens use Facebook, compared to 63% on TikTok and 61% on Instagram. Yet,
that's actually a fun fact. I didn't know that. I was expecting Instagram to be a little farther behind TikTok. I was just talking about it. This, I believe, for the Facebook item, just because at this point, if you're a teen nowadays, it might have like your parents and your grandparents on Facebook. And so like, there's nothing you probably want to do on Facebook at all. At this point, if you're a teenager, you probably want to get away from your parents or your family members in probably any situation as a teenager, but especially on social media. So this definitely makes sense to me on the Facebook side. The Instagram side, I'm actually impressed. I was just saying my interpretation, especially for younger audiences, is that they were leaning towards TikTok. Even though it is true based off of these numbers, I was expecting a wider gap. Like I would have thought, you know, maybe like 63% on TikTok and maybe like 50 something percent or 40 something percent on Instagram. Even the Facebook percentage is a little bit higher than I anticipated. So I guess good job, Meta, for keeping up with the teens.
Instagram. Yet Marketplace's billion monthly users suggest a different kind of engagement, one driven by necessity rather than social networking.
When I was moving to New York, I was on it every single day browsing Facebook Marketplace. So that was a high usage period.
If I have nothing to buy or sell, I'll probably open the app less than once or twice a month.
I see a lot of Gen X and even baby boomers use Facebook Marketplace, and also millennials. So affordable and budget-friendly second-hand shopping experience.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Also, that earlier individual highlighted like getting furniture. That's exactly the type of thing that I think comes to mind a lot for something like this. Is furniture definitely stands out. I guess you could, they're showing how there's like books and stuff here. I guess that makes sense. You could totally do that as well as other sort of cheap items. But if you're a millennial or a boomer or something like that, you probably have been set up long enough that you're probably getting more furniture and stuff for your apartment. You're getting bigger items. I've even heard of like baby items like strollers and clothing and other stuff, because there's sort of just that short time frame where you need it, and then it's probably gotten a few usages over like a month or two before that child basically outgrew it. And so why is everyone kind of buying these from scratch and like getting the brand new items at a premium? And so that makes sense to me. Also, again, I think that aligns more with who I assume is actually using the platform.
This can be aligned with the Gen Zers, eco-conscious mindset.
Marketplace, which is primarily a C2C shopping destination where people go to sell or buy secondhand goods, is a big part of that strategy to attract and keep those users on its platform.
For younger consumers, Marketplace aligns with both financial necessity and sustainability. The global resale market is projected to hit $350 billion by 2027, fueled by eco-conscious and budget-savvy buyers.
They can find the really, cheap price, affordable items through Facebook Marketplace, especially with the money constraints for younger generation.
We've compiled a list of things that we bought from Facebook Marketplace when we were moving to New York, and we were able to compare the original price from the price that we bought it at, and we saved around $2,300 from this move, which was really amazing.
The appeal isn't just about saving money, it's also about trust.
Unlike, let's say, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace offers more information regarding sellers, and it's a bit more.
Agreed. This is exactly what I was calling out earlier, which is Craigslist is just like some anonymous randomized email, and so you know nothing about this person really. But Facebook Marketplace, at least like you kind of know how long they've been on the platform for, maybe some other basic information, enough that like it's better than basically nothing that you get on Craigslist.
More transparent in terms of who you're buying from and so on and so forth.
This built-in trust factor keeps users engaged, even if they rarely scroll the Facebook feed.
So I do my scroll of it, but not nearly as long as I do on other social media platforms.
Everyone is familiar with Facebook, so there's good familiarity. And I think with familiarity often comes trust.
One of the biggest advantages of Facebook Marketplace is how it is connected to Facebook profiles. This helps build the trust between buyers and sellers because people can see who they are dealing with. So it feels a bit more secure compared to completely anonymous platform.
For many users, local pickups are the real game changer. Instead of waiting for delivery, buyers can inspect items in person and sellers avoid logistics hassles.
There's a lot of C2C, consumer to consumer business, a tremendous amount of consumer to consumer business.
But now, Facebook is expanding Marketplace's reach. In January 2025, eBay announced a partnership with Facebook Marketplace, allowing select eBay listings to appear in the US, Germany, and France. Wells Fargo projects an additional $1.6 billion in gross merchandise volume for eBay by the end of 2025. The move not only expands Marketplace's inventory, but also potentially helps address EU regulatory concerns. Users can browse eBay listings on Marketplace, but must complete purchases on eBay's platform.
A partnership between eBay and Facebook Marketplace will make it easier for eBay sellers to sell directly on Marketplace. That will boost the number of sellers and potentially buyers on Facebook Marketplace. It could also help solve some of the trust problems that Marketplace has if eBay is authenticating those items or adding another type of verification or buyer protection, which most purchases on Marketplace do not have.
With this partnership, eBay get access to a much larger audience through Marketplace's huge user base. And also Marketplace can offer a wider selection of product lists. So collaboration highlights a complementary relationship rather than direct competition because each platform caters to different buyers and sellers.
Facebook Marketplace doesn't charge upfront fees, but it does take a cut of sales made through shipping. Sellers pay a 10% selling fee with a minimum charge of 80 cents per transaction. For eBay, the deal expands its reach, helping it compete with resale platforms like Poshmark and Depop. For Facebook, it's about scaling up Marketplace into a resale powerhouse. Marketplace doesn't charge mandatory listing fees, and ads in Marketplace can't be bought separately. They're bundled into Facebook's broader ad network. So why does Meta keep it around?
It is one of the least monetized areas of Facebook, meaning that it isn't making a lot of money there, at least not directly. And the challenge now for Meta is to redirect Marketplace users to more monetizable surfaces on the app, especially the main feed, where Meta generates roughly about 80% of its worldwide ad revenues.
Meta's business model is built on ads, which made up more than 97% of its $164.5 billion in revenue in 2024.
That's quite a bit of money, but that does make sense to me, especially as the other individual mentioned. For myself, if I ever go to Marketplace, which is pretty rare, I'm specifically looking for a few key items. Whereas if you're talking about like a feed for social media, you could just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and maybe there's so many ads after every few posts. And so if you're scrolling through for a few minutes, you might see a handful of ads or maybe a dozen ads. And so that will add up pretty quickly compared to these other areas. But it is kind of annoying how Facebook does sort of force this Facebook account that kind of links up to their feed system in order to leverage Marketplace. I do like Marketplace, but it is kind of annoying that exists. So maybe they'll come up with a better way of monetizing, and they'll explain some of the ideas CNBC has here.
Even if Marketplace itself isn't a cash cow, it keeps people on Facebook longer, giving Meta more opportunities to serve ads and collect valuable data. According to eMarketer, the average 18 to 24-year-old spends only 11 minutes per day on the platform.
Yeah, so this makes sense to me. So I guess this aligns more with what I had in mind. So I guess this is more to do with the time people have. And I guess it's so easy to make accounts that it would make sense to me that from those earlier statistics of about 63% of teens having TikTok and like 61% having Instagram, this more directly aligns with kind of what I was picturing, which is like TikTok is at the top, Instagram, maybe some other things, and then Facebook towards the bottom. And so I guess just how easy it is to install apps, to create accounts, that those numbers were a little bit more inflated than I expected, but this more correlates with what I would expect here.
Platform, compared to an hour on TikTok. But many of them still log in regularly, specifically for Marketplace.
Marketplace gives Meta a way to say young people are on Facebook, but logging onto Facebook to browse, buy, or sell secondhand items is a very different behavior than spending time scrolling the feed like they might do on other platforms.
This is valuable because advertisers follow engagement. When people log into Marketplace, Meta collects valuable data: what users are searching for, what they're buying, and even their location preferences. This information helps optimize ad targeting across all of Meta's platforms, from Facebook to Instagram. Unlike eBay or Etsy, Meta doesn't take a cut of most transactions.
The financial benefit for Facebook from Marketplace is largely indirect, meaning that Marketplace helps to bring in users and engagement, which is what advertisers are looking for when they're deciding where to allocate their budgets. Meta hasn't really provided any more specifics in terms of how it intends to further monetize Marketplace, but I imagine that a lot of it is going to continue to be about indirect rather than direct revenue, and more broadly about how it can convert Marketplace users into more traditional Facebook users.
This is why Marketplace plays such a long-term role in Meta's e-commerce strategy. While Instagram is now responsible for about 50% of Meta's US ad revenue, Facebook still needs a way to retain users, especially younger ones.
I just think the concept of Facebook is a bit outdated at this point in terms of a social media platform. There's definitely opportunities too. For example, if they just shut down Instagram one day, I'm sure everyone will be going back, because I think the value of Facebook is people have had it for so long. They've accumulated a lot of connections over time, so it's so valuable to see when people's birthdays are, for example. I don't think anyone will delete it anytime soon, but I don't know if people will be going on it super frequently either.
Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please hit like or subscribe. I'll see you around.